It is typical for children to fall into an intense state of comfort and contentment in our expanding American way of life. Kids are having to worry less and less about receiving the basic human necessities that they require to survive. However, some children in impoverished nations typically cannot obtain these necessities and are therefore left in an extremely vulnerable state. These defenseless children often fall prey to becoming child soldiers. Barbaric military leaders often invade susceptible villages and kidnap the kids and brutally murder the parents. They then proceed to use these children as unpaid and underfed fighters and workers. These actions are unforgivable, and using children as soldiers is morally unjust and must be stopped. A civil war has been raging in Uganda since 1987 as the Lord's Resistance Army campaigns to topple the Ugandan government. Under Joseph Kony, a self-proclaimed speaker for God and other godly spirits, the guerrilla group plans to turn the Ugandan government into a theocracy. What makes this war unique, however, is not that it is one of Africa's longest-lasting wars, but that the war has included extreme abuses of humans. This includes rape, massacres, torture, abductions, and child soldiers. 90% of the Lord's Resistance Army is composed of minors. They are commanded to kill for a cause they do not believe in, and those who attempt to escape are killed. These children live in fear and experience extreme hunger and psychological trauma. 30,000 kids have been abducted since the start of the war, and 10,000 have been kidnapped in the past 18 months alone. It is estimated that 30% of the child soldiers are malnourished and are in need of help, and most of the fighters do not have families to go back to. The Lord's Resistance Army frequently murders the families of the child soldiers in order to eliminate any chance of hope or escape for the children. The mothers and fathers do not survive, lie in constant fear for their lives, and live under the hand of the oppressive rebellion movement. The children are often given drugs to handle the struggles of war and turn into brutal fighters who will kill to survive. In other cases, they are used as human shields or to clear landmines. God created His world so that humans may live in peace and harmony. He intended for humans to live with love for their neighbor and respect for others. Forcing innocent children to fight is an unjust cause that does not uphold the principles of love and kindness that God created for us to uphold. These children are made in the image and likeness of God, and it is violating their human dignity by forcing them to fight, and not upholding their right to family or protection. This also does not provide them with the basic human necessities like food, water, or shelter that the military fails to provide. Natural law, old law, new laws, church law, and civil laws are all being violated. The lives of the children are not being respected as they are being forced to fight, and because there are those who are killed by the child soldiers, they are also violating the preservation of life that God intended for all of us in His natural law. Letting the kids die from malnourishment also goes against this precept of natural law and goes against the preservation of life. The raging militants in Uganda are killing both the government by using child soldiers in common and the kids themselves. This goes against the fifth commandment of thou shalt not kill, in regards to the commandments of old law that Moses had received in Exodus. New law is also being violated. Mark verse 9, lines 36 through 37 state, He took a little child, whom He placed among them. Taking the child in His arms, He said to them, Whoever welcomes one of these children in my name welcomes me, and whoever welcomes me does not welcome me, but the one who sent me. The Lord's Resistance Army is failing to uphold the welcoming nature that is intended for a human life. Jesus taught that the peacemakers would be called children of God, and by having children fight and kill for the sake of others completely goes against this teaching. The act of using child soldiers also disobeys the church law that human life is sacred, stated in the Catechism of the Catholic Church, line 2258. This act also violates civil law and is violating the international human rights law that sets 18 as the minimum age for direct participation in hostilities and for compulsory recruitment by state armed forces. This act is sinful because it is disregarding the rights of children and is forcing them to kill for the wrongful sake of others. The intent of the Lord's Resistance Army is sinful because they are utilizing them to kill in order to create a theocracy under a man, Joseph Kony, who is wrongfully declaring himself a prophet of God. The circumstance is that thousands of families are dying in order to recruit the children. The children are dying, and the people that the children are forced to kill are dying. This goes against the fifth commandment. This act of using child soldiers is a mortal sin because the men doing it are deliberately doing it and know that it is an immoral action. It is an object of grave matter and it is not justified in any way. This act goes against God's direct law of the Ten Commandments and is bringing the men further from God. It is a sinful act of commission because these men are directly bringing themselves farther from God with their unjust actions. Jesus had taught us to act peacefully in the Beatitudes, and that through peace we will be called children of God. The Magisterium stated in line 2258 of the Catechism of the Catholic Church that human life is sacred. By using child soldiers and killing their families, these brutal militants are disrespecting the Magisterium's view of the sacredness of life. The wrath and pride of the Lord's resistance army can be combated with the virtues of patience and humility. The nature of these men are filled with anger and disdain. They believe themselves to be better than the average man, and they can just take the dignity of the rights of children away from them. This can be fought with humility and patience, the opposite virtues to wrath and pride. So what can be done to remedy this injustice? Less than 10% of the $130 million requested by the humanitarian community that is attempting to stop this injustice in Uganda has actually been given. In order to stop this problem peacefully, it is necessary for the world to unify so that we may donate the rest of the money needed for this group to attempt to halt the use of child soldiers. It is also important that we elect local and national politicians that are willing to donate to the cause. Together as a nation and a planet, we can end the use of child soldiers in Uganda and hopefully the world.